Today is the 4th of March, 2010. We are at the New York State Military Museum and Veterans Research Center in Saratoga Springs, New York. My name is Wayne Clark. For the record, would you please state your full name and your date and place of birth, please?
My name's Christina Imhof. I was born in Colorado Springs, Colorado on April 17th, 1953.
And did you attend school there?
No, because I was an Army brat.
Oh, okay.
So I finished high school there,
Mm-hmm.
but school all over.
All right. And your father was in the Army?
Yes.
And what was your father's position?
He was a tank mechanic slash motor pool guy.
Mm-hmm. And what was his name?
His name was Jack Tinney.
Is he still living?
No, he's not.
Okay. And what year did you graduate from high school?
1971.
Did you go on to college at that point?
No, I worked for the Army and Air Force Exchange Service at Peterson Field in Colorado Springs. It's Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
And after several years of doing that, I said, I got to do something. So I joined the Army.
And why did you pick the Army? Was it because of your father?
Not really. I wanted to join the Air Force, and they didn't have any. I did want to be an MP,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't have any security police positions at the time. And I was in a recruiting station that had Marines and Navy, everybody there, and the Army came out, grabbed me right up and said, we can make you an MP.
Uh-huh.
So I said, okay, you got me.
Where did you go for your basic training?
Fort McClellan, Alabama, when it was still the W.A.C.
Mm-hmm.
Area.
Had you ever been there before?
No, not to Fort McClellan.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia for MP training.
Now, what was your basic training like?
Different. It was, I trained with all women.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the W.A.C. post. A lot of the people that I went to AIT with trained with, men and women.
Now at that point, when you went to AIT, had they done away with the W.A.C. branch? Or
No,
okay.
no, not at that point. But basic training for me was difficult because I'm not very athletic,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of running and push-ups and all of that stuff. The schooling part of it was very easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And having been in the military all my life, I knew all the rank and the procedures and all of that pretty well. So that part wasn't too hard.
So that basic training lasted 8 weeks?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the total times, but I think it was about 8 weeks.
And then you went on to MP training?
Mm-hmm.
And that was there also?
No, that was at Fort Gordon at the time.
Fort Gordon.
Mhm. In Georgia.
And what was that like?
That was even harder.
Mm-hmm.
Because then we started training with the men. And to me, the marching and the running was difficult. Running's always been difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
But there it was even worse because our powers that be in that unit, the first sergeant and all of that, they were all airborne, loved to run. Thought I was going to die. But
How many women were in the outfit?
boy, there was a whole group of us that filled up a Quonset hut that was away from the men, and we had to march up to train with the men every morning. So I would say there were probably 40 of us. Yeah.
Did everyone make it through?
No. Quite a few ended up being cooks.
Women or men?
Both.
Both?
And I actually didn't graduate with the group because there was a group of us that was set aside, and they then trained us to be MP security for missile sites.
Mm-hmm.
And so they pulled us out of training about 2 weeks before we graduated with the rest of the MPs. and started us in this specialty school.
Mhm. When you graduated, you still got the MPMOS?
Oh yeah, I got
Mhm.
that, but then I got the identifier on the back of it saying that I could guard missiles.
Mhm. Was there an advantage to having that identifier? Or was that a help or a hindrance, do you think?
I think it was a help, because then I could continue on in that field if I wanted to.
Mhm.
Because, you know, when you have that security identifier on there, it got me jobs down the line.
Okay. You did mention that one unit you were in, they were using the women to do office work.
Yeah.
Did that happen right away, the first unit you went to?
No, because the first unit I went to with that identifier on
Mhm.
there, I got sent right to North Dakota to a
Mhm.
missile site that was brand new. And I worked there for a little over a year guarding missiles.
Any incidents at all during that time?
No.
What did your day consist of? What time did you start in the morning?
I think we started probably 7-ish, and we had to, had a formation with all of
Mhm.
our gear on, and then we were bussed out to the missile site, and then that was a 24-hour shift. And
Now you say 24 hours. Were you on for 24
yes,
hours?
we're at the missile site for 24 hours, and there's maybe a group of us, maybe 6 of us, I think, used to go out, and then we would, rotate, taking turns on the cameras and doing the perimeter checks.
So you weren't up for 24 hours straight?
Well, sometimes we were, it was up to us if we wanted to
I
go
see.
sleep or something, we could.
Mhm.
They had areas there for us to sleep, they had a kitchen, the comforts of home
Mhm.
underground.
Uh-huh. Anything unusual happen during that time?
No,
Was it pretty desolate?
it was, the only thing, during the day, they were still putting the warheads in the missiles at that time, so we had to, and Martin Marietta is the company that did that, and then we would watch, that everything was okay out there, and really, northern North Dakota, not much happened.
Were you exposed to radiation at all?
No.
No?
They had all of the safety equipment there that if something happened, walking through the showers and all of that, and we were all trained to do that, but
Mhm.
nothing happened.
So at the end of that year, where did you go?
I got a swap with somebody that wanted to come to North Dakota that was from there, and he just happened to be from Fort Carson, which was my hometown.
I see.
In Colorado Springs. So I offered to make a swap, and so they swapped us, and I went to Fort Carson. That's when I got into the secretarial pool.
I see. Now your parents were still in that area?
Yes, my mother still lives there.
And your dad at the time, was he retired from the military?
Yes, he was retired.
And living in Fort Carson?
Yep. Well, they lived in Colorado Springs, which is right,
Okay.
right there.
All right. Do you want to tell us about what transpired there?
Well, when I got there, they didn't have a job for us. They did put us in an MP company.
Now, you say they didn't have a job for us as
There
far
were-
as the women went?
Right, as far as the women went.
Mm-hmm.
We would show up for formation in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and then we pretty much sat around all day waiting for a job to do. And then I was eventually given a job as a secretary for some lieutenant at a destruction place where they take papers and destroy
Okay.
them. And I don't even remember all of what I had to do there. I know I had to type, and it took me all day to type a letter. This was pre-computers.
Uh-huh.
So me typing with carbon paper.
And you didn't have a clerk's MOS?
Oh, no. I was an MP.
Mhm.
I was an MP,
Mhm.
and I couldn't do that job.
Did you consider going to the IG at all and filing a complaint?
No, I just always went home and complained to my parents that I had nothing to do. You know, because, I mean, I didn't have that secretarial job very long because, you know, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I wasn't a filer, and they did let me go when they destroyed materials because I was an MP, and they needed that guard to do that. So I would go and do that, but as far as secretary work, they didn't keep me long because I didn't do it
Mhm.
good. And my ratings were terrible. So they sent me back to the company and really didn't have anything to do for me. They kind of told us to go and, you know, clean the barracks up that the guys used.
You had to clean the men's barracks?
We were told to. I did not do it. I
Mhm.
refused. I wasn't a maid. I really had to stand up for myself, and I said I wasn't going to do it. I didn't do it.
Now, what rank were you?
At that time in E3,
Mhm.
and I wasn't going to do it. So you know, there were a group of us girls that sat on the steps every day and kind of waited for things to do and
Mhm.
hung around the day room, and then we would be cut loose, and I would go to my parents' house for lunch and hang there until noon formation. And then we were cut loose, and I would leave again. And I always complained to them about it.
Mhm.
But I didn't, you know, I mean, the sergeants and the company commander, they all knew we didn't have anything to do. It wasn't a real issue,
Mhm.
because we weren't traffic cops, and those are the only women that were on the road at that
Mhm.
time.
And how long did this go on for?
Several months. Several months.
And then you mentioned that your parents were at a party and.
They went to some retirement function,
Mhm.
and they met the battalion commander,
Mhm. Your battalion.
my
commander.
battalion commander, and my mother said that they weren't utilizing me as they should,
Mhm.
and had no idea what was going on. And my father's trying to shush her,
Uh-huh.
but she said no. She had to talk about this,
Uh-huh.
and only then did he find out that they weren't using the women on the road. You know, and maybe he saw the traffic girls out there, but
Yeah.
and that was good enough.
Now, did you want to be out on the road?
Yeah, I was trained to do that.
Mhm. Now, the ones that were out on the road, any idea why they didn't switch off with you guys at all?
Because we weren't traffic. I was trained in security.
Oh, I see, that was different
You
training.
had to go to a different school then to do traffic.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why we didn't do that.
And you want to tell us what happened after her talk with the colonel?
Then we had it was pretty monthly battalion formations.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, that colonel found me in that whole mess of people.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, as he came through and, you know, he tried to talk to everybody, or at least say hello to everybody and ask them how they were doing. He found me and saw that name, and I don't know whether he talked to everybody else and found me that way, but he said he'd talked to my mother,
Mm-hmm.
and you should just, the look on the captains and my company commanders' faces was priceless. And he said he heard that I'm not being used in a position that I wanted to be used in,
Mm-hmm.
and that was on the road, or at least doing MP work.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him that was true, and he said that he would see what he could do about it. And then I was made a liaison with the Colorado Springs Police Department.
Oh, you want to tell us about that?
I got a male partner,
Uh-huh.
and him and I worked downtown. They found us an office downtown at the Colorado Springs Police Department.
Now, why was it necessary to have a liaison?
Because there was so much military
Mm-hmm.
that either had problems downtown or got into trouble downtown.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Were they basically like bar fights or?
Yeah, a lot of those, but what my partner and I did, was when military people were ripped off by the community somehow,
Mm-hmm.
in purchasing cars or equipment or stuff like that. We went in as kind of undercover, posing as husband and wife and seeing if, in fact, certain businesses were cheating and ripping off the military.
And did you find many businesses doing that?
Yeah. Yeah, car dealerships mainly,
Mhm.
used car dealerships.
What were they doing?
Trying to sell a clunker to anybody that would buy it. And when you have an E3 that needs a car,
Mm-hmm.
that's what happened.
Okay. And did you enjoy doing that
Yeah, I did.
as a liaison?
Yeah, I did. But then that got to be where it wasn't enough. And then I found that the commander that I had then, the company commander, that was more over the road MPs,
Mm-hmm.
I became friendly with him and asked him if there was something on post that we could do.
Uh-huh.
And they were developing at that time then a behavioral services unit that would work closely with the housing area
Mm-hmm.
and families and kids there.
What kind of problems did you encounter there?
In the housing area,
Mm-hmm.
oh, a lot of domestics, a lot of children problems.
Now, were you armed?
Yeah.
And did you have a male partner with you?
Yes. Yeah, they always teamed us up with the male partner.
Mm-hmm. Any anything major as far as disturbances?
The domestic disturbances were always.
Violent?
Some of them, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would always tell my partner, I say, you take the guy, I'll take the woman, and, separate.
Uh-huh.
And then,
How did that work out? Were you able to calm things down, or did the incidents result in arrests?
some of them did. Some of them did.
Uh-huh.
But we could, a lot of times when we would get there, the husband would already be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then, somebody have to go and hunt him down.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you'd have to get the statement from the woman, and, but it was pretty crazy sometimes. And some of the houses he went into, the quarters were disgusting.
Uh-huh.
Just absolutely filthy. The kids not being taken care of, so that just progressed into a whole new field of welfare for the children and everything.
Uh-huh.
So it was,
Did you find that job satisfying?
yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kept me busy.
Mm-hmm.
That I enjoyed
How long did you do that for?
until I got out. So that was probably a year and a half, 2 years.
And when were you discharged?
1977, I think, in June of '77.
And at that point, had you considered making the military a career at all?
I had considered it, and when I went, when I talked to them about re-enlisting and everything, they said, well, we'll make you an E5, and
Mm-hmm.
but With all the trouble I had to get to that point, it's still a very male-dominated world then, and I just really didn't want to deal with it anymore. I wanted to get out and go to college.
Were you still a WAC at that point?
Yeah, there was still the Women's Army Corps was still then. Yeah, because we still had a special patch that we wore, a Women's Army Corps patch, and I wish I could find it. I won't find it. I know I have one.
All right, you got discharged, so where did you go at that point? Did you stay in Colorado Springs?
No. I moved to Erie, Pennsylvania for a while because I had a friend there and I worked there for a while. And then I did eventually, about a year later, move back to Colorado. But I moved to Denver.
Did you attend college at some point?
I did. I went to a community college and I was taking up sign language, which was not VA approved at the time, so I ended up, and that's the real reason I joined the Army was so I could go to college, but those courses were not VA approved, so I ended up having to pay for those anyway.
And while you were going to community college, did you work at all, or was that a full-time?
I went full-time,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had gotten married in between and had a baby while I was going to college.
Mm-hmm. Did you receive an associate's degree?
Nope, I didn't finish because my husband at the time then moved to Alaska, and I was a semester shy of graduating.
Oh.
And so we moved to Alaska.
What did he do? Was he in the military?
He was an MP too, that's where
Oh,
I
I
met
see,
him, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you went to Alaska. Did you further your education at all?
Nope, I started working and I went right back to work with the Army and Air Force Exchange Service at Elmendorf Air Force Base and Fort Richardson, which are right next to each other. And I ended up doing that for 7 years. 7 more years.
Did your husband retire from the military?
No. He he got out and worked for a helicopter company up there.
Oh.
And then we divorced in the meantime. And while I was working at Fort Richardson, and that's where my security job came in handy. My security identifier got me a job as a store security at the Army and Air Force Exchange Service. So I did that for 7 years.
Did you have problems on base with thefts or?
Oh, employee theft and shoplifting, sure.
Really?
Oh,
on a military base?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. Very big. Very big. And actually I met my husband, my current husband, because I was about to arrest the store manager at Fort Richardson for stealing. But since she was a civilian and lived off post, I had to go see him at the JAG office to find out the legality of getting her. So we eventually did bust her, and my husband and I eventually, of course, got married.
Now, was your husband an officer?
Yes, he's a lawyer.
I see. All right. And how did you end up in Cambridge?
Well, he's from Greenwich.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we came back to the area, and I liked it. We lived in Alaska. Then we moved to Germany.
Whereabouts in Germany?
Darmstadt, which is south of Frankfurt, and that's where we had our daughter. And then we moved to Turkey, which was
with the military.
Yeah, he worked for a general there for NATO, and loved it there. Turkey was a fantastic assignment. And then we just moved back here, and I'm glad. I like this area.
Did you join any veterans organizations at all?
I belong to the American Legion, and I joined the DAV a little while back.
Did you have any injuries or?
Yes, when I was in North Dakota, I broke my back.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, we had a lot of downtime there because we would work our 24 hours and then we'd have like 3 days off.
Mm-hmm.
So with that downtime, we would be in the gym a lot, and there was a sergeant there that was a Taekwondo instructor,
Mm-hmm.
and he was teaching me Taekwondo, and I fell. And I missed the mat and hit the
Oh.
floor and broke some bones in my back. So,
Have you had any problems with that
oh yeah.
currently?
Oh yeah. As I age, it gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you make use of the Veterans Hospital at all?
I just went down there just recently,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a very nice hospital. I was down there maybe a month ago.
Mm-hmm. Do you receive any sort of disability because of that?
I do get a 10% disability right now. I'm
Mhm.
just going to see if it can be raised
Mm-hmm.
because I have increasing problems with my
Mhm.
back.
Did you stay in contact with anyone you were in service with?
Well, you know, I was just talking to my daughter about that the other day because she's in contact with so many of the people she went to basic and AIT with
Mm-hmm.
through Facebook and email.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, we didn't have that back then.
Yeah.
I did keep in contact with 2 of my patrol partners, but have since lost contact with them, and I'm trying, you know, through the computer to find them,
Uh-huh.
because those are the 2 that I really remember the most, and I haven't had much luck. I'm not real great with the computer, but, you know, we're working on it.
How do you think your time in the service changed or affected your life?
Well, I think being raised in the military and having a military father gave us a lot of discipline, my brothers and I.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being on time for everything and organized, and so I already had that going in, but my time in the service, I don't know, I think it made, when I was in, you know, I had those hard times with not being given the jobs that I wanted, and
Mm-hmm.
but I think now looking back on it, I'm really grateful to have been in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it gives you that sense of pride.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course, you wouldn't have met your current husband either, right?
Well, I was out of the service by then, but
Yeah.
and I seem to have always worked for APHIS, so
Mhm.
I probably would have met him, but with that string of events, I don't know that I would have gone to Alaska
Mm-hmm.
had I not met my first husband in the military. So yeah, I mean, you know, things happen for a reason,
Sure.
and so that with that chain of events, of course.
Is there anything else you'd like to touch on that maybe we missed?
I think it's a fantastic opportunity. When my daughter first told me she's going in the military, now she's the last one ever, Little Miss Princess, that I would ever have thought would go into the military. But she loves putting that uniform on,
Mm-hmm.
as I did. And she's learning so much. And I think she's really going to go far with it.
Mm-hmm.
She does her reserve duties now.
What rank is your daughter?
She's still in E3.
Mm-hmm.
She just got out of college a year and a half ago, or high school.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to ACC right now. But when she finishes that, she wants to go to a 4-year school that has ROTC, so that she can become an officer. And she's the one that's going to go far with this.
Okay, well, I'm sure she will.
Yeah, but really, I think it's an opportunity
Mm-hmm.
that really more people should take advantage of.
Yes.
Yeah, I really think so.
Okay, well, thank you for your interview.
You're more than welcome.